The green light law is one of the more contentious legislative pieces during this year's state session in Albany. The measure, which is the subject of a lawsuit, grants driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. Proponents say it's the right thing to do, but News 4 Investigates also spoke to critics of the law who say the possibility of illegal voting is among their top concerns. Luke Moretti reports.
Quieren hacerlo, pero están trabajando.
Victor is an undocumented immigrant working in the Western New York dairy industry. He's been in this country for 10 years. Coming to America, he says, was a risk worth taking.
Y yo quiero que ellos sean unas personas de bien.
It's because I have 3 kids, and I want them to grow up and be good people. And, you know, I don't want them to have to suffer what I've suffered.
His 3 children, 20, 17, and 14, are back in Mexico. He hasn't seen them in person in over 10 years.
Pues sí, yo creo que mi día libre, pues
Marcos, an immigrant lacking legal status, works 70 hours a week on a farm in Western New York. Like Victor, he's been living and working in this country for about 10 years. He came here to support his parents who are back in Mexico.
Pero vienen con buenas intenciones porque
People come here in order to find and provide a better future for themselves and their families.
Both men see the recently enacted green light law as a big win. A driver's license, they say, provides some independence in their everyday lives.
bueno, más que nada una licencia de conducir es porque
You know, we need to be able to get around for the people who have families. They have to be able to pick their kids up from school, to participate in their lives.
Last month, the state of New York passed what's known as the Green Light Law, allowing people without legal immigration status the right to obtain a driver's license. Almost immediately, there was a firestorm of criticism.
This is a terrible law.
Niagara County Clerk Joseph Jastrzemski is among numerous county clerks across the state who say they will not comply with a new state law.
They're here illegally. Why should they have the right to drive in New York State if they're here illegally?
Among his concerns, the potential for voter fraud. The driver's license application includes a voter registration section. Jastrzemski says it's easy to sign up because it's part of the same form.
Extremely easy. Extremely easy.
No sort of...
There's no way to vet it out. Luke, there's no way to vet it out. And I've checked with the Board of Elections, and they tell me it would be very difficult.
Republican Erie County Elections Commissioner Ralph Moore already sees problems.
Those applications then get transmitted to the Erie County Board of Elections.
He showed News 4 Investigates a stack of forms sent from the DMV in which people either inadvertently checked the voter registration box or thought it was required to fill out.
This comes over to us all electronically, and the signature we get is the one that they have on their driver's license.
So far this year, his office received around 2,500 duplicate registrations from the Department of Motor Vehicles. Moore says about a third of all transmittals from the DMV turn out to be duplicate registrations, just like the ones in this giant pile.
The concern that we have is that individuals who aren't eligible to vote will continue along with the application with the Department of Motor Vehicle and fill out that form and then use that process to register to vote and then show up at an election where they would not be eligible to cast a ballot.
But Nicole Hallett, an assistant clinical professor of law at the University at Buffalo, says the notion that someone would take that risk just doesn't meet the common sense standard.
Yes, it's theoretically possible that if someone really wanted to commit perjury and also a federal crime and voting unlawfully in an election, they could do that. But there's just simply no evidence that that is going to happen except in extraordinarily rare cases.
más que nada nosotros necesitamos la licencia.
No, we're not using this for voting. It's really about being able to move and get around.
For immigrants who can't drive, finding a ride, especially in rural areas, can be pricey. Nicole Hallett says there's a whole underground economy of people who overcharge for rides.
So you might see someone charging $80 to go to the grocery store to pick up $10 worth of groceries. So you have people who are taking advantage of this vulnerable population.
And finding a ride on short notice can be a problem. Victor found that out when he nearly broke his arm and needed medical attention. He couldn't find anyone to take him.
Y no encontré una persona disponible que me llevara al doctor.
So that meant I had to just wait an entire day until the next day where I could find someone that was able to take me to get medical attention.
And while Victor and others in the situation see having a driver's license not as a luxury, but a necessity, critics say New York's green light law is riddled with problems.
New York State, our state legislators and our governor are telling us that we're supposed to turn a blind eye to somebody that is breaking the law. There's something wrong with that. We are becoming a lawless state.
Our immigration system is broken.
And very complex, according to Nicole Hallett, a system in which immigrants can fall out of status, she says, for all sorts of reasons.
It's just simply too simplistic to say these people are here, they broke the law, and we shouldn't give them anything. That sort of has a very nice black and white quality to it, but it really doesn't tell us much about the nuances that exist and why people are here.
Luke Moretti, News 4.